Hello and welcome to We, Me and Us. We are delighted to have you here as we dive into the exciting journey of leading, coaching and transforming organizations in our rapidly changing world. I'm Pierre Neis, your host and Agile coach. I'm truly passionate about sharing real-world insights with those eager to create meaningful change. At We, Me and Us, we're all about exploring new tools and perspectives that inspire impactful transformation. Let's embark on this journey together. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, dear followers. Welcome on We, Me and Us podcast. I'm really happy to having you again here. So today I'm in a deep conversation with a friend, Marco Consolaro. And a friend is a new friend, right? Highly recommended by another very good friend. This is how it works. So the friend of my friend is my friend. And Marco, I like him. We had a preparation talk. He's passionate. This is how you should be. Passionate. Emotions. Black or white, not in between. Welcome, Marco. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for this great introduction. I'm doing well.
So, can you introduce yourself? Who are you, Marco?
Yeah, well, I am. I started as a software developer. I work and started to develop softwares when I was a kid, and I loved it. And I decided that that was a great topic for my future. So I carry on following it. I graduated in computer science and I started to work in Italy in this field. After a while, I decided to explore more and I moved to London. That's where I learned a new way to interpret this profession. And I discover all the great things that I now teach to the software developer that come to our training. I wrote a book about it, Agile Technical Practices distilled, that was liked very much by the community. And then now I co-founded Alcor Academy, which is a training company where we help software development teams to improve their delivery skills.
So I have to take care very much. I have a very good friends in Italy. They have also software company. Maybe it's your competitors. So I don't promote it too much, but it's large enough. Thank you so much. I can see the passion. And what kind of trainings are you delivering?
Well, we work mostly in Europe, so I don't think the Italian people are really competitors. Plus, we do training on software craftsmanship skills, so extreme programming, more programming, acceptance test driven development, software design. It's a very holistic training. It's a social technical training, as we like to call it, where we teach design, technical thing, but also we teach people to collaborate effectively toward a piece of code. So there is these both components, and I have to say we try to make it fun. So the developers love it, managers love the effects, and we are quite happy with how it's going.
That's very nice. So yes, this podcast is mostly usually on agile organization parts and on coaching parts. And then maybe the audience will say, oh, what the heck are you talking about? Now you come with engineering. Yeah, in fact, there's a huge audience in engineering, right? And I won't make that much on engineering, but I will really, I'm intrigued about what you said. Maybe I want to have know a little bit more about the social part of your training. What is this?
Well, it started as a technique, if you want, by Woody Zuhl, right? Mob programming, which was an evolution from pair programming. And, I find quite funny when agile people think that engineering is a little bit too much because if we go back in the days, agile has been founded by a group of engineers, right? So that's how all the movement came to be. So, the social part is embedded in the extreme programming values that started and kicked off this movement. Essentially, what they were saying is that we need to reach the collective ownership of our code. It means that the code is not owned by one person, it's owned by a team. So anyone in the team should be able to touch any part of the code. And in systems that grows, this is difficult if we don't work collaboratively. That's why pair programming and more programming came to be, and they are a technique that needs to be learned. It's not that you put a bunch of people inside a room and that's more programming they start to be effective. We need to learn how to do it, and so we use this technique in our training in order to essentially find a excuse to talk about code together, and that's where people start to grow.
I have a very, very bad questions raising up my head because I'm a perverse, right? I see all the directly, like your mother, you always see what doesn't work, right? Where the hick is. So collective code ownership, yes, absolutely. I approve it. This is very well. And everyone has to work on this. Now you think in the company, you're, let's say, company based out of Italy or in Switzerland, and your developers, or maybe in Portugal, or maybe in India, maybe in Vietnam, or maybe in China, and you have a contract, the external contractors. Do you have also collective code ownership?
I don't think that the remote location is an excuse. We deliver our training remotely. Everybody.
No, it's not about. Sorry, I'm cutting. It's not about the location. It's about the partnership. Let's say you have a third party work on the code, and it's your code. And
well, I think that's a problem in itself. If it's your code, you care about it. Why do you have a third party work? It means you don't care too much.
Let's say, what happens if you don't have the choice?
You only has a choice. You always have a choice. You just hire the right people to do the right job. If IT is considered a cost center and not an investment center, well, that's the big problem behind the scene.
Yeah, and I will add one more. I will insist one more. Let's say, okay, this happens a lot in large companies. I completely agree with you is about how to work, and usually companies have way too much on their plate. Let's say they have the belly bigger than the belly is smaller than the expectations, right? And they hand over a lot of work to offshore. I used to work for those of the offshoring companies, and we have a lot of maintenance and third level support, all the work that nobody wants to have, right? But this is also code floating there, right? So what happens then?
Well, I think it's a matter of having a vision, having a plan. These realities clearly lost their vision and lost their ability to plan. So they are actually like Argonauts that do things trying to close the holes, but that's not a strategy. That's just a surviving attempt.
Yeah. Let's say, I will tell you now on the point I want to come. I faced, this is more my topic, isn't about the engineering part, about how to work together. And the contracting part is, I believe, a very emerging point, because you discover that you're not allowed to give all the data, all the code to the third party, which are really doing the job, right? And then you have the real developers, which are working for one company, but they're not part of that company, and you have a barrier. So one company, maybe the head of the company is pretty much agile, and the people doing the work, they don't know, they don't care, just handing over. So if I did this when I used to work at SAP, we had this collective code ownership, even with third parties. Meaning your third parties, we have this motto is, I don't care where your salary is coming from. We're working on the same code. So even though no problems, no issues, then you have people coming, oh, we have compliance issues. They say, if you're third party and you cite 10 times NDAs of 10 times GDPR, and then still somebody telling you can't do it, this is not partnership, right? And it's a consequence.
Absolutely, but the first, the start of the Agile Manifesto is individual and interaction versus contract negotiation. So you can call Agile as much as you want. You can put Agile in your job titles. You can do your stand-ups 9 o'clock in the morning. That doesn't matter. That's not what agility is for me. And I believe the big companies are just playing a charade. They are not agile at all because they are stuck in their bureaucracy, which is what prevents them to be agile.
It's the aim of it's the aim of controlling everything, and I completely agree. I would say control is an illusion, but if you make everything transparent, that's the real control. It means if you don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Real control is given from trust. If you create trust, then you can achieve these things. And you can achieve trust also inside teams in a highly bureaucratic organization. That is very possible. The problem is that there is a boundary that you cannot break. You can achieve agility in a small context, but then you always face the interface with the other part of the organization that agiles are not, and that's where the problem arises.
Yeah, but I'm this kind of crazy guys who try to define what Agile is, because I'm not only referring on the Agile Manifesto, also referring to the Agile Manufacturing, which came earlier. And it's great. It's absolutely awesome. And there's a couple of other things. But I discovered that I call agility is Agile entertainment. Is you're using Agile tools and techniques and you believe you're Agile, like what we discover more. But that's not only a joke, right? It's not only provocation. You have people, Agile delivery engineers, who have no clue on Agile. So, and like DevOps people just being another kind of delivery manager or another kind of infrastructure team, which is not DevOps. It's very specific. Or business analysts who now become product owners say, no, sorry, you're not product owners, you're business analysts. This is a different kind. And then you have all this revolution. I'm a big fan of XP, and they came out with a very, very good topic. A very good approach is about this quality management. I have the feeling, so let's say, I'm maybe noticing, maybe it's because I'm mostly firefighting all the time, and I still the weird part, which is usually why you hire me. And that's okay. But I have the feeling that people are thinking doing software development. In fact, they're just doing configuration integration, not really software development. The quality is usually very, very bad.
Absolutely.
I have young software engineers, and you talk with them and say, "Oh, do you know the basics of extreme programming?" I say, "What's that?" I say, "This is my first shock. I think this has to be important." Or I have people say, "Oh, we are super agile. We're doing extreme programming." Okay, what are you doing? Oh, we're doing from time to time collective pair programming. I say, sorry, it's not from time to time. It's always. It's not simple. There's rules, but this is always, right?
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. I see it all the time. And what is sad is that there is not even an awareness that they are not doing the right thing, and there is a lack of understanding, essentially a lack of knowledge from the people higher up in the organization to actually being even able to judge these kind of things. Also because many things we do are counterintuitive, right? Putting more programming team is going faster in the long term, but that is very counterintuitive for the classic manager that just see three people doing one thing. So, there are many things that if you don't really know, if you have never experienced an high performance team, you can't understand just looking. They are completely counterintuitive. And there is not this knowledge, there's not in this culture. Most of the organization, most of the software development things. That's why we actually started this company and we started this training. Because you can't go to a team that has that level of quality and say to them, oh, okay, from tomorrow you will do XP, right? You don't learn it in one day. You need to go through a training like ours to really understand how that works out. And we are proud to say that we changed the way that people code and we changed the way people think about coding in our training. And that is just forcing them to talk about what they do with the mob for 18 lessons. At the end, they change the way they think about that. And most of them, they love it and they carry on after the training to code in a different way. So, it's cultural. The problem is cultural.
It makes you proud of your achievements, right? You see things and you don't deliver and cross the fingers, and 6 months later you get the feedback from the customer, and a year later you get a couple of bugs and you have to remember what happened a year before, which is a nightmare. This is not an anecdote. This happens a lot. Because still in the teams, you're not doing QA or testing and development. That's the team. And still a segregation between IT and business. We should not even talk about business agility because we say business, IT working hand in hand together. IT is everywhere. So have an IT people in your marketing team. That's logical. And now, usually maybe you got it too, or the question is Agile applicable everywhere?
Agile everywhere? Well, I think to a certain degree it is, right? But it's to me, it's not really about agile, lean, extreme programming. It's about dealing with complexity in a group in a effective way, right? And in order to do that, you need to achieve a high level of collaboration and trust. Because through collaboration and trust, we can create a generative culture, a learning culture. Because it's all about learning, right? And you discover new things about your business, about your customer, about how to improve things. And either we are open to learn. So open to learn means being open to drop how we did it until yesterday and do it in a new way because it's better. And if we are open to this kind of mindset, then the organization evolve and improve. Instead, most of the environment have the problem that they want to freeze the status quo. They don't want to change. That is the big problem. That's what Agile try to address, at least inside a team, right? Being open to change. That's the difficult part. So how can we do that? Well, in order to do that, we need to elevate trust. Because if we don't trust each other, then we don't want to change because we are always thinking about what can go wrong about every proposal of somebody else.
Yeah. I will submit you a small case for the conversation. 1.5 years ago, I was in a very traditional request. It was in Cambridge and between UK, the rest of the world, India, Australia, traditional, and I had to create a new product, and it didn't deliver the product in 2 years. They're still struggling on versions. The developers, mostly product owners, business analysts, were located at the headquarters. Development team is based out of India. And then they had QA back in the headquarters and deliver team, another team back in the headquarters. And they complain about they're not delivering fast enough. The quality is absolutely bad. They had a huge backlog of issues. Just not to going too deep, because it's a part of an exercise of my coaching program. But this also not, I don't want to blame a customer, because it's just all habits, is applying a technique and then not seeing the consequences. How would you like, in this, if you have a case like this, I believe you surely have the case like this quite often. How do you tackle this from an engineering perspective?
From an engineering perspective, but to me, the problem of this is too many hands over, right? This is basically water, right? Mm-hmm. So if we have hands over the requirement, handed over to the engineer over there, they hand over the product to the quality team, all these handovers are the recipe for disaster. And it's not surprising that they didn't deliver anything. I believe that from an engineering point of view, at least a core team of developers, architects should be in the headquarters and should be the driver of everything. They should work together with the business in order to set up the overall architecture and design. And then from then on, you can expand the team, even abroad if you want, but having the leadership engineering team that oversee all the developers from wherever they are in the world. That would mitigate the problem. But even better if they would have just one team that take care end-to-end from requirements to tests and essentially deliver story by story from day one. So after 2 years, maybe they haven't finished the backlog, but we can grasp the value of what we have done until then.
Yeah, the funny part, it was something very similar. It had, let's say, an architecture board who were playing the leaders, overruling the product owners and the program managers, and asking the teams to have 9 teams, stop and goes on a daily basis. So daily basis scope change. And they had no plan. And then we're not accountable about the results of the team, always blaming the teams. And additional to this, then you can come with a plan. The teams, so they were not aligned. They were testing into a sandbox, handing over to another QA or testing team working on a testing environment, which is not the same as the production environment, and not working and only working on dummy data.
Yeah, I've seen things like that failing with my eyes, and if you have the ivory tower architects that dictate stuff, that's it, right? Those architects should have been also the developers, should have been also the people that put together the working skeleton of the system in the first place. So after you have the first stories end to end, touching everything, deployed with an idea of the design as it would evolve, at that point you can add more people in the equation, if you want. Starting Big Bang with that confusion is the recipe of disaster. I can tell a nice story of a few years ago. It happened in a very big financial institution in the UK, but with a headquarters in Germany. And they hired me because they needed a great agile developer, right? And they were claiming to be agile and so on. So, I was like, I don't know why they need so much. So then I joined and I've learned why, because it was a year and a half. They were doing this agile development for a greenfield product. And then I discovered they haven't deployed anything to production. And so after a few weeks, the company red flagged the project, right? Which means that it would be defunded if they would manage to develop anything by the end of the year. So we still had 6 months time. But most of the team was already preparing the CV, calling the agents, ready to go, right? While I realized that it was a team of 60 people, but there was one great developer in there. I realized there was one person who was great. And I went to talk to this guy when this happened. I was like, listen, they just focused the development on the middle part of the backlog because it was the most exciting one. Developers say, this is the core part of the project. Let's start from here. And they forgot instead upstream part that to me should have done before because everything depended on that, right?
Mhm.
They left behind. So I was like, why don't you ask the manager to give us that part of the backlog and we develop ourselves? I believe that without all the crazy ideas of those developers, if it's just me and you in 6 months, we can actually show something to the business, right? So it was like, wow, yeah, good idea. You went to the manager, and actually we had that backlog, and we could also hire 2 developers because when they are desperate, all the budget was on the plate. So we hired 2 other friends of us. We knew they were great, and in 6 months we delivered that backlog in production, and we saved the project, right? So yeah, this is a story that shows you that you don't need a squad of 60 developers. You need to know what you are doing. That's the big problem. And then what happened was that essentially we connected our thing with what they have done so far. We had to get that to production as well. And then the system was collapsing every time that they were trying to do their stuff. So they asked for help. Okay, well, what is the problem? And so the problem was that they used dummy data to put together their stuff, right? But the dummy data was a very small database, while the big data was a database with all the car, all the models, all the things, and millions and millions of records. When they try to move millions of records with the strategy, everything fell down, right? And so we had to help also there, right? So, unfortunately, these mistakes could be avoided if who take the decision in the beginning were somebody that has done these things already a few times and knows how to architect and put together a great high-performing team to do this stuff. The problem is that very few people have this experience.
I give you another example to completely come to your field. I had the pleasure to interact with a team, which was one of the best teams. There were 3-4 teams in the same company. A couple of years ago, we just make some kind of brainstorming. I was friend with the main coach there, and he said, "Oh, let's make a workshop." And he said, "What would you suggest?" I say, "Okay, don't make stupid team building. Let's improve the creativity. See, ask people from the business for the business issue, and they have the whole day to solve these business issues. Come with this option." They loved it. In fact, these teams, lucky them. The company was very smart. They created is a UK company based in creating a subsidiary office in Paris. They hired the right coach. Not me, another one, very, very good. He's an extreme programmer and a DevOps. And they improve and they on day one only extreme programming by the book and only DevOps by the book. These teams deliver in production every 10 milliseconds. They fix bugs in production, and it's crazy. It's not a factory with robots, right? All these guys were around 30 people, very smart. They all had a clue about the QA had all the big screens and the screening, and you see the problems they were able to fix. Everyone is able to fix, and they share the same purpose all the time, every 10 milliseconds. And this was crazy. And this is all about extreme programming, properly applied, and DevOps. And if you're in engineering, maybe please tell me I'm wrong. Is if you apply it properly, it's done for high quality outcomes. Let's say if the quality, because you do pair programming to avoid mistakes, you made code review to avoid mistakes. The collective ownership is to avoid pushbacks. Oh, it's not my fault. No, we have to fix this. It's very pragmatic. And you deliver very, very early and often. And this helps you to get the feedback, to know exactly where the problems can occur. The idea is not to only go fast, is having sooner the feedback. And if you sooner have the feedback, you can sooner adjust the issues. If you do it 6 months later, then you see crazy teams working completely exhausted because they have to support 10 old versions. Somebody complaining, oh, you're not able to make innovation. And then they have zillions of bugs to fix. So I just jumping around everywhere.
It's something I do often in my talk, right? Which one of my mantra is go slow to go fast, right?
Yeah.
Which is why more programming works. More programming essentially force a team to have work in progress one with the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it work. And then it's also a way to carry on with the focus on production, because if you work in a mob, there's no holidays stopping the team. There's not a meeting stopping the team. Nothing stops the team because there's still somebody in the mob carrying on with work. So yes, you do one story at a time, but your team is always working on a story every single minute. And that's what makes a team fast. It's not the rabbit that skip when it starts. There is a nice video I show all the time at the conference with the rabbit sprints, right? And so the rabbit is beating the turtle that is racing against the but the turtle doesn't care about it. It's little, it's carrying on. While the rabbits arriving halfway through and the people cheers. Yeah. So the rabbit goes up and look at the people and gets stuck in the middle. While the turtle doesn't care, carry on. And at the end, the turtle wins, right? And that is exactly how it should be in organization. It should be slow but steady, the way we work. We want to go slow because we don't want to make mistakes. Because if you make big mistakes, you are going to pay 1, 2 order of magnitude that mistake down the line, right? So we need to prevent mistake. To prevent mistake, you need to be slow and carry on all the time. That's the key point, which is counterintuitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And QA issues is a rework, is consuming time. Absolutely with you. I was thinking also, there's a huge mistake that's happening is, Agile is for software development. Yes, it's not for the development phase on a software development. So when you go in QA, you continue doing Agile. And development is the whole cycle from the beginning, from the idea until it's going, the withdrawal of the solution from the market. It's and when we say end to end, it's not on the delivery part. It's also in production part. It's the whole.
Absolutely, we believe in that the unit of work must be the team in an organization. Right? So the team owns the product. It made it, it runs it, it maintains it, it fixes it, it's shipped to production. Right? The teams need to have inside all the skills to do this end to end. So QA is not a different department. QA is a figure inside the team. Product people are inside the teams. The developers are inside the team and they work together. Every team has these capabilities. And the way we work is essentially The developer sit with the business person and the developer, the three amigos, before starting coding. The QA handle the story before coding, and we write the acceptance criteria together, right? With the business there. So it's the business that give us the example. We put it in code already. We don't even use Jira. That's how we go super fast. We just have an idea of a story, we discuss it, put the criteria in code, in an acceptance test that compiles and fail, of course, because there's something missing. And then we start after that developers understand, yes, I know what to do. QA is there, say, okay, I know the business, I know the test is correct. And the business say, yes, I want this. If this stuff goes green, I am happy. So we have a digital contract that if it gets green, basically we are sure that everybody is happy. When we have that, we start developing. And so it's super fast. And if we create iteration in this way, we go speed of light to production all the time. And why this is important? Because if a team needs to fix its own mistakes and every night they build fail and they have bugs in production, they go and fix themselves. So, in the long term, they see that quality matters, right? And they do better by default, right? It's when we break down all these things, it's really hard to find the real root cause of the problems. And then responsibilities of no one, and then no one's care, no one pays for it, and then the poor guy that needs to go there in the evening to fix somebody else's mistake is the one that is the most unhappy of all. But it's not fair to work in environments like that.
Absolutely. Marco, I love your passion. This is how it should be. This is the level of conversation we should have. If you're not passionate, what can you achieve? So, Marco, we are reaching the end of the call. It was great having you.
Let me say the last thing. I believe in the concept of ikigai, right? That is the idea that we should not just do something because it gives us money back. That is just the surviving side of things. We should do something because we like it, because it's something we are good at, right? So we can achieve mastery and improve. It gives us the money to survive, but it is also important that it gives real value to the world. And the world, not just the employer, but the world, like the people out there. It does something good for somebody else. That's why we do this training, because it's a mission for us. We will be much richer doing the CTO for any company, any big company. But I don't care about that. That will be very dreadful for my soul. What I really like of this adventure we are doing is the satisfaction of seeing other people, young developers, that has a infinite gratitude because they have seen a different approach to this job and made their passion alive again. For one of the jobs, I think, should be the most creative and the most exciting ever, which instead they want to make it like a robot and a skinny potato like. It's never going to be like that.
Marco, this was the long conclusion ever from the whole humanity. Thank you so much, Marco. It was a pleasure having you. I will put your LinkedIn profile link in the talk. So guys, thank you for attending. Have a lovely day. And I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us at We Win Us. We are excited to be on this journey with you as we support your growth as a leader and change maker, helping you build resilient and agile organizations. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd be grateful if you could share it or connect with us on social media. And if you or someone you know has valuable insights to share, please reach out. I'd be thrilled to feature them. Until next time, keep evolving and stay inspired.